open banking and data, the new world, the new flatter world of finance. That's what we're going to of fintech and payments. We'll be talking about today. So we've been hearing a lot over the last couple of days about growth of payments, growth of e-commerce. We've got with us here two, one hyperscale payment tech company, and we've got another one from out of the UK, focused on open banking. That's now in this region, and Yoav Sofer from the Bank of Israel, who's I believe knows more than any of us will ever know, possibly, about CBDCs. Let's start by taking a kind of quick snapshot of the region. I think probably Evan, you're probably best placed to talk about that as you're actively in active operation here. What's happening at the level of e-commerce and payments in the MENA space, and what is it that brought you to this region, given that open banking is Saudi Arabia has launched open banking rules, but there isn't an open banking framework to speak of yet in the Gulf.
Yeah, so there's There's definitely a race to the top in the region, which is very exciting to see. You had Bahrain starting a few years ago, and then Saudi is leading the way. Locally in the UAE, we saw recently DIFC giving licenses to open banking companies like Taraboot, very exciting. And obviously the e-commerce system will benefit out of this, SMEs will benefit out of this, and it's a very exciting time for MENA, following what's happening in Europe with PSD2, but they're making giant steps at the moment.
Are you seeing moves towards open banking in I suppose the UAE? The Saudi Arabia already has it, but you're not in Saudi Arabia. So are you talking to the regulator about what might be coming down the line here?
Well, the regulators have already made a few good steps, including ADGM, the central bank, and the DIFC, DFSA in particular. They are embracing the change. They are embracing open banking. It's a matter of time, I think, and I think in a year's time we're going to see the results of all that.
Lachlan, perhaps we can come to you. You're based out of Germany, I believe. Is that right? Payoneer sort of founded sort of US, Israel, big in Europe. You now have an office here. What brought you here, and what's that experience of opening up shop in the UAE been like so far?
Yeah, for us it's been awesome. So Payoneer, the core product that we have is a virtual account, and then we also do issuing and acquiring, and then a whole bunch of complementary services. And for us, we work a lot with take the e-commerce space. We work a lot with Amazon and eBay and the others. And naturally, there's a lot of sellers on those platforms that work here. Or if you look at the freelancer space, there's a lot of freelancers in the GCC. And you look at some of the other verticals again. So for us, it was a big opportunity to come along with our virtual accounts and then start helping as well with the other financial services we've got. So we've been here for a while. There's 20 or so of the team that are here, just behind the curtain. And for us, it's a huge area of growth. It's one of our fastest growing regions. And for us, we want to double down on it.
Are you looking at, you focus solely on the UAE at the minute? Are you looking at, you're looking at Saudi Arabia? Are you looking at Egypt as many of the other, players and movers in the market are?
Yeah, so we're across the region. We're based as humans in UAE, but in terms of customers that we work with, we're across the region. And again, the types of customers that we've got are typically ones that are looking cross-border. So they're the ones that are selling their goods or being a freelancer or working with their end consumers or customers or marketplace would be based in the US or Europe or some of the other emerging markets.
So, Yoav, perhaps we can talk to you about that because Lachlan very kindly brought in the word cross-border. We've been hearing a lot, on this side of the Middle East, in the Gulf, 6 markets sort of relatively mature at a level of economic development, different levels of maturity at the level of financial sector development and fintech, and Dubai, UAE, the more mature amongst those. Nevertheless, they are 6 very different markets: culture, consumer, customer, and then the regulation. You're looking at CBDC from a perspective of sort of taking out some of the pain of cross-border. Tell us a little bit about the project at the Bank of Israel and the pilots that you've been doing with some of the partners to see how you might resolve some of those challenges.
Sure. Thanks for having me. What a great conference. I mean, amazing.
It's not small, is it?
No, not small. So, I'm actually thinking about what was just said here and also in the previous sessions. So the differences between countries regarding the state of maturity of the financial sector and the payment sector, actually. So indeed, there are very big differences. However, in most economies, actually in all economies, people still use the most kind of basic means of payment called a piece of paper, right? Or a piece of money, notes and coins. But these are issued by us central banks. Okay, all of the innovations that you guys have been discussing here are actually based on people having an account with that private sector entity. Whereas the central bank money kind of remained in the ancient technologies of just paper and metal. They actually have to meet each other and be in the same place to pay one another with central bank money. So CBDC projects are really about taking the central bank money and not necessarily driving out any other form of movement, but just making it available for us to pay each other digitally with central bank money if we choose to. That's pretty much the basic of what CBDCs are. Our project is actually examining this, first of all, internally, as I think another 100 central banks are currently examining CBDCs around the world at different levels of progress and maturity. And we also have two very exciting international collaborations. Actually, we just announced, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that we'll be working together with the central banks of Sweden, who will be one of the first to explore CBDCs, and Norway. And we're actually building a cross-border CBDC platform. So actually listening to the two sessions earlier, we are trying to build a platform. Let's try and imagine it this way. Let's assume that a Saudi and an Emirate are meeting at the border. Okay, and they each need the other country's cash because they're going to be tourists at the other country. So it would be sort of a perfect transaction. I can give you my cash, you can give me your cash, and we'll be making a cross-border kind of interchange with no fees, and it would be immediate, it would be final, there wouldn't be any risks, etc. Okay, now let's put the digital central bank money on a digital sphere, and we can do that all around the globe. Okay, I can send you my digital money, you can send me your digital money. We could make transactions and interchange. So this is what we're actually exploring with two very distinguished central banks of Norway and Sweden.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because what you're talking about there is kind of an extra competitive dimension to the concept of money itself, as well as just payments. From the interactions that you're having with other central banks around the world, are they concerned about being too involved in the payments landscape? What is the kind of motivation behind some of the experiments that are going on out there?
Yeah, this is really the basic question. In public policy, you always ask yourself, and of course it's a matter of ideology and of economic perception, etc. But every public policymaker always asks herself, okay, how much does the public sector need to be involved in any sphere, okay, in health, in education, in transport, in finance, etc. And here, this pretty much kind of developed historically without any control. So the public sector has been there providing means of payment as cash for hundreds of years. The financial sector, the private sector has been there as well. And currently we pretty much got to a stage where private sector money has pretty much outperforming public sector money. Maybe this is okay, actually. Maybe it's okay. So the private sector has found a way to make us pay each other easily. Maybe that's okay. But actually, as central banks, we're also thinking that it is important to have public money around and available, because our trust in private sector money, the fact that I'm willing to hold my money in a commercial bank and you're willing to get your money from my commercial bank, also relies to some extent on the fact that we both know that at the end of the day we will be able to convert our financial sector money into central bank money if we choose to, if we want to. So it's all about maintaining this option available also in the future as the economy becomes much more digital. But it's definitely a question to what extent does the public sector want to be involved. We definitely don't want to get too involved because we don't want to drive the private sector completely out of the game. That would be, of course, very, very harmful.
Evan, just at 3S Money, do you have a kind of view on the sort of next generation of money? Are you thinking about how open banking, open data blends into next generation forms of currency, particularly cross-border as you are?
Yeah, absolutely. As we specialize in the cross-border transactions, what we want to see with open banking is the industry moving in a dashboard kind of view where you will be able to manage your finances as a company, right, in a dashboard. And when you have that flexibility, right, you can do your cash flow forecasting. You can manage your working capital in a better way, and you can get the best pricing, the best exchange rates in the market. So this is where we want to see the industry moving.
And in this particular market over here, we've got Project Avlo has been talked about. That's less about consumer payments. It's more about wholesale and business financing. Are you talking to the marketplace here? We've had VARA launched here this week, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. So are you engaging with the ecosystem as it's evolving in Dubai and the UAE?
We are talking to the regulators, we are talking to companies to see what they want. There's no point to develop any product if it doesn't suit the user, right? And this is what we're trying to do here. What we hear is that obviously there is a very big gap in the market for SMEs, especially towards the smaller size of companies, right? How can open banking help? Obviously, these companies, when we're talking about unbanked companies, or individuals, right? There's no data with the banks, there's no data to share. So open banking can come in and help them build that profile, right? So little by little transactions, either through Amazon, e-commerce, different like channels, you can start building your profile as a company, as an individual.
Obviously, as you move around the region, you mentioned the unbanked. We just had Laurent from GID talking about Egypt. Massive population, massive opportunity. Also now moving very quickly as the government starts to take action and invest and try to kind of move the country move the country in a new direction. As you move around the region, are you sort of thinking about how you can actively engage and drive payments and work with customers that haven't actually been brought into the system before?
Yes, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all about financing and inclusion, and that's what open banking is about. And we want to go to markets like Egypt. We want to help the unbanked and the underbanked as well. Egypt, Pakistan, all of these markets with massive populations are within our target. And it's, as I said in the beginning, it's a race to the top, right? The entire region in MENA is making giant steps towards catching up with Europe and the more advanced technologies.
Most people come to you on the kind of innovation point. As Evan's saying there, and as we've been hearing throughout this week, the market is moving here very, very quickly now. Consumers are young, consumers are they like innovation on the whole. Yes, there's some concern around some of the more leading edge financial innovation stuff that's happening, but largely customers are keen to kind of move with you. How do you take an innovation view, an innovation timing viewpoint, and some of the things that you start to think about and what you actually press the button on?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we dipped our toe into the water, I think, with open banking with the most basic use case for us, which is we help our customers. We have about 5 million customers around the world. We help them fund their Payoneer account using open banking in Europe. Right? It was the adoption was the highest. It was one of the first markets with a regulatory framework. We dipped our toe into it. But for us, it's the very first stage, I think, of the opportunities that we've got when we try to look at how do we keep up with whether it's innovation or just customer expectations. When you look at the suite of products that we have, as I talked earlier, it's like there's acquiring, there's issuing credit cards to our customers. It makes so much sense to have open banking or open data as part of that. When we're issuing a credit card, you're now talking about a finance product, so there's open financing also in there. When you look at the onboarding application for our customers today, we try to automate it as much as possible. There's another role of open banking in there. When you look at our working capital products, there's another role in there. And I think the piece for us that we're looking at when we look at how we get more into this space and what more can we do and how do we keep up. It's not an easy task with the amount of open banking tools and functions out there around the world and regulations. But for us, what we try to do is try to work out what's the biggest impact things can have and what's going to make our customers' lives easier and have an impact on what they're trying to do. Like to your point earlier, we have 5 million customers. Most of them don't sit in America or the US, so there's a huge portion that don't have bank accounts or don't have access to capital from their banks that they do have. And so for us, we're trying to help them build businesses, and open banking for us has a huge part. So we are trying to build an innovation framework for it, around it, that allows us to take advantage of it. And we don't have to wait for countries to adopt it. We can find ways to work with partners and others that helps accelerate it.
Perhaps you just give us an example of some of the partners you have worked with, and possibly even if it's in markets where open banking doesn't necessarily exist yet. That would be helpful.
Yes, the only name I can talk about is the one in the UK. So we are a customer of TrueLayer. They are one that's helped us get to market as quick as possible. They were showing great. It's an interesting thing, right? So we would be a customer of open banking. We don't want to get into the space ourselves. We don't think it's our expertise. We don't think our customers want us to be the ones that solve that problem. They want us to focus on the products that we do have. So we partnered with TrueLayer, and as we were selecting that supplier for us or partner, you look around and we launched them 2 years ago or so. It's an evolving space. You still have dropout rates. You still have, like when customers open up their banking app, sometimes the app doesn't open. What do you do then? So for us, it's been a very big learning curve, and we couldn't have done it without partners. I don't think this is our area of expertise, and I think for us, working with a partner has helped us move faster and definitely give us more knowledge and insight than if we did ourselves.
We've got a lot of fintechs here, and I imagine there's quite a lot in the room. Companies come to you and say, we've got this great product, and bill payments for freelance workers, for example. And what do you look for in terms of the partners that you might engage with? What's the criteria that you score against?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, so in the product team, so it's my team and I'm my colleagues. So feel free to find the person in the flower jacket. I'll happily listen to you and try to help you find the way into Payoneer. For us, I think there's a big amount of mapping to where our existing customer population is, or some of the pain points that we've got today. So learning more about what you specialize in, where your success cases are, and aligning that with where are our specific pain points at the moment in time. It means it's a very open door. It's probably the best way to say that.
And Evan, perhaps a word on partners. Are you actively seeking partners here, or back in the UK? Is there been a sort of partner track?
So we just established ourselves here, so we don't really have partners here, but yes, we do have partners in the UK. We have Banking Circle and Rasmussen. They have been amazing partners for us to help us establish in the market, and it's a 3-4 years relationship now.
What are you finding the difference that it makes to have that kind of partner relationship at the business commercial level? What's been the impact?
Well, we cannot exist without our partners, right? So that's the difference. It's like fintechs need the banks, banks need the central banks. It's an ecosystem, right? It's not only a fintech ecosystem. It's a much more larger ecosystem, and we cannot exist without one another.
Perhaps you have. We talked the other day about the thinking around the structure for a CBDC when we get there. I think you mentioned it's a two-tier system, which to my limited understanding is where really the retail or the commercial banks will be the ones that are issuing money. What's been the reactions from in terms of the partners you might be talking to at the level of the banks, I guess the broader ecosystem, if you're also talking to them?
Right. So actually, those I was saying that the CBDC would be a central bank liability. It would probably not be the central bank itself that would be distributing it to the cash. We will need the private sector actually operating in what we call the second tier. And in that case, actually, as opposed to the current model where it is only banks who are distributing the central bank money to the population generally, It could be companies like Payoneer, companies like 3S, any financial, even any technical company that would actually meet up to the obligations of connecting to the CBDC system in a secure way and actually offering the services of like a CBDC wallet to the customers. And actually, it could be a much wider landscape than what we have today, especially in small countries like Israel, where you pretty much have 5 or 6 basic players. So we're actually indeed talking to the financial and to the retail sector about it. Actually, if you think about it, you don't really need to be a financial institution to provide CBDC. You could be a big retailer. You could be a travel industry or something. You could be pretty much anything. You could be the manufacturer of cars who would want their cars to be holding digital money within the cars that would be paying toll roads automatically or something like that. So it really, CBDC may really increase the ecosystem of who could be in the business of actually supplying financial services to the population, because the money would be central bank money, wouldn't be holding the liability as payment institutions do today. But you would be providing the access, and then there's so much place for innovation, because actually the competition would be between, so you could be competing with me as a client customer, telling me, okay, listen, I'm really good at cross-border payments. Join my CBDC wallet and I'll provide you the service. You could be providing something else, and everyone could actually be providing services on the central bank issued money to the wider population. In Israel, I can say that the discussion is currently very kind of young. Okay, the financial sector and the retail sector is not too familiar with the topic. That's why in places like this here and other places talking about this issue, because we really need everybody to start thinking about how we would need to design this project for everyone to be able to participate and contribute at the end of the day.
We'll touch on adoption in a second, because as we all experience ourselves in our day-to-day lives, the market for financial services has become massively more complex. I wonder though, given sort of the experience so far, everything we're talking about there, yes, of course, a large retailer, an independent could technically issue their own currency or issue central bank money. But that does imply a certain level of standards, regulation, a certain level of data. Open banking or leave it. Maybe not everybody needs open banking, but we certainly need a kind of underpinning agreement on data standards and privacy. Are those regulations up to code, or are you thinking about what might be needed to enable this stuff to actually deliver on the motivation, deliver on the promise?
So there would definitely, first of all, need to be kind of technological regulations, like your cybersecurity standards would need to be very high if you're actually allowed to connect into the central bank system and actually distribute the central bank money. There's also the whole issue of AML, of course. So with cash, there isn't really a lot of AML, right? Once you get the cash out of your bank, you can pay whatever you want. It wouldn't be the same with CBDCs. Okay, the payment initiation would also need to follow AML standards. So although you would not necessarily be a financial institution, you would need to cater to KYC and AML procedures. There may also need to be some need for consumer protection, okay, because we want to make sure we're providing the central bank's money to the customers. We want to make sure that we're doing it fairly, that we're giving the customers the correct information that they need once you get within that. So, but however, if we are able to build it in a manner that the intermediaries do not really touch the money, and this is actually what we're exploring in what we call Project Sela, which we launched a few months ago together with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. If we are able to actually build the intermediaries in a way that they do not touch the money at all, they only provide the technical access to the system. So the intermediaries may be exempt from, for example, capital and liquidity requirements that are currently applicable to payment institutions in general. So it would be sort of a new concept to think about.
It was interesting what you said to me before we came on. Do we need open banking or do we need CBDC to take it either way? That is the question, isn't it? At what point are we going to find out which is the model that we're actually going to need? Because these are all abstract pilots at the minute. As consumers, we don't get access to. We just hear of them.
Yeah, if I knew exactly that point, I'd probably be telling you about it. But I mean, I think mainly in the sphere of payment innovation, there's really both of these kind of endeavors really have something to achieve down the road. I mean, currently our money, if you think about it, it's pretty stupid. Okay, I can make a transaction, but nothing comes with the transaction. And the whole concept of smart contracts and actually the blockchain technology has brought to us actually enables us to make all sorts of smart transactions. I always tell the story, a couple of months ago I went to buy a used car and the person was telling me, okay, so do the RTGS transfer and then I'll give you the ownership of the car. And I said, no, you do the other way. You transfer me the car first and only then we'll pay you the money. At the end of the day, I wanted the car more than he wanted the money, so I ended up taking the risk. Now, in open banking, you'd actually put some kind of an API on my bank account which would actually program my bank account to only transfer the money once that ownership is there. You could also do that with maybe with CBDCs and smart contracts. So with CBDCs, you could do that on central bank money. With open banking, you can do that on commercial bank money. So it's actually good that these two concepts actually compete each other towards the future, making both of them actually more innovative than we have today.
Open experimentation and learning is something that whichever the consumer wants is the route we'll possibly go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's bring them to adoption, because that's really the big thing, isn't it? We had GIDEA here this morning, we had a big payments panel yesterday. The fact of the matter is, 2 years of pandemic did more for adoption of any of this fintech stuff, particularly at the level of consumer payments, than the last 20 years of Visa, MasterCard, and then the fintech community saying, hey, we've got some great new stuff I think consumers might like. It took the pandemic for us to understand what was the use and purpose of a QR code. So how are you kind of communicating that message, given the fact now that there's a much more competitive landscape and the market is growing quickly in places like the Gulf where you're in?
Yeah, so what we want our clients to know is that they have options, right? And it's not only traditional banking that can cater for their needs. And it's not only about payments, because a lot of people relate open banking to payments. It's about lending. It's about having access to capital, credit worthiness. And this is the message that we try to give out there, right? I would say adoption needs education. You need to educate your clients, you need to educate the individuals, and it comes with a gigantic risk. This morning, my wife was driving me here, and she told me about a friend who was the victim of a scam, and she lost 30,000 dirhams in a transaction with business, etc. I started thinking, how difficult it's going to be for people to adopt open banking practices, sharing their data, right? Because it comes down for you to manage your own data and decide with whom you're going to share it. And it becomes very difficult to achieve the open banking purpose if we don't educate people. So adoption equates to education.
What sort of things are you doing or are you thinking about? Because you're absolutely right, aren't you? That value chain, which is the world that we're in, we're moving into, this sort of flatter value chain of transactions. We as customers don't know all the different links in the chain and who owns which part of the link. How are you thinking about that reassurance and that trust and communicating that you're a company that is value for money, but a great proposition that's also secure?
It's about making sure that your clients understand technology, right? You can give them the dual factor authentication, but they can still be the victim of a fraud, right? You need to talk to them, you need to engage with them, you need to have your webinars regularly and talk to your clients, educate them, and this is what we're trying to do. Right? We don't rely only on technology. We are seeing that fraudsters are usually one step ahead of technology. And we talk to the clients, we educate them, and we're making sure that education is combined with sophisticated technology.
Alfred, do you want to take a view on the education piece and how you have Payoneer over the years has sort of driven the take up among customers?
Yeah, so for us, we have two use cases. So the funding of the Payoneer account is an account-to-account payment. So I think certainly back in the UK where we launched first, the adoption has gone over and exceeded what we were expecting, which is great news. We did some education to our customers, and that's relatively easy, right? Because we have a contract with them, we have a relationship with them, they've already trusted us with some of their money before. So to help them understand different mechanisms of it, I'd say easy, but it wasn't easy, but it's straightforward. On the other side, we also help our our customers with their own direct-to-consumer websites, and we haven't yet enabled open banking as a payment method for them to accept their payments from their customers. Because outside of account-to-account payments, where I think you're reaching, certainly in the UK, you're reaching like a critical mass. So I can fund my bank account, I can fund my trading account, I can fund my crypto account. Like all of these make a lot of sense, and the adoption is straightforward. But when I told my mum and my dad I was on a panel today, and I was like, we're talking about open banking, there's still the comment of, what's that? And I think that's the hard thing for us. And when we look at our customer base, which is like 5 million small businesses, I don't expect a small business to educate a shopper or a supplier as to what open banking is. And I think like that's the challenging area. And we've seen some of our customers have tried it outside of us, and they work directly with some of the providers, and they'll give discounts or they'll give loyalty points or something, and there's an incentive. But I still think there's a little bit of confusion as to why am I getting something for choosing this particular payment method, and how do I control who has access to my bank? Am I giving them access to my bank, or is it just for the payment? And I think that's where the market still needs to do some education to see this adoption outside of account to account from our perspective.
So we were talking about this morning, isn't it, the whole adoption piece.
I don't remember, I don't think we talked about this.
That's the last bit. You know, the adoption is really challenging, isn't it? It's a combination of trust. You also want to drive innovation. You want to learn what's happening. You want customers to be exposed to these new things, and you can also learn to get the data back. Otherwise, you can't retrofit. We can't improve. How do you view adoption in the realm of the CBDC world? Because you're now sort of talking about it right now.
I'll actually be doing a full presentation on that tomorrow, but maybe just to give two lessons. Actually, in CBDCs, as opposed to private sector initiatives, we actually don't want to be too successful. Okay, we don't want 100% adoption because we definitely don't want to crowd the whole banking sector. So it's a really tricky thing. However, we also don't want to be building a white elephant. Okay, we don't want to be building something that no one would be using. And I think what we've learned is that maybe one of the most important lessons for adoption is how to make a network effect. Okay? How to ensure that there's a big enough network for both consumers and merchants who want to adopt any means of payment, and this one that we're dealing with. And there are ways to do this. For example, first of all, what we've learned, I think, from some of the payment apps in the several couple of years that have passed, is that many payment apps actually succeeded to make a network effect, started with P2P payments. So just, me paying you for the coffee we had yesterday, something like that, everyone needs to pay each other, a couple of dollars every other day. It's just something that everyone needs. I mean, I do P2P with my kids. Okay, they give me, Dad, I bought something in the grocery store. Venmo me, in Israel we call it Bit or Paybox, okay, so just send it to me. So everyone uses P2P. Then once you're in the P2P sphere, it's actually easier it is then worthwhile for the businesses because everyone's using it, for example. Another very important player actually could be the government, because if the government on all of its, arms accepts a means of payment, everyone interacts with the government, right? We all pay taxes, fines. I can tell you, I can pay some. We all get transfers. Businesses all pay taxes. So everyone actually has a payment interface with their government every once in a while. So if you get to convince your government to adopt a means of payment, you actually did a very important step in creating a network effect for adoption.
Well, that's certainly been the model in Scandinavia, where you're doing your partnerships, isn't it? In Norway, Sweden, they've collaboration between the government and sort of driving the concept of digital identity has created a network effect of driving an understanding of that, but then also enabling much more cashless payment. We've got some great panelists here. Two scaling companies that are interested to talk to partners. Do we have any questions from the audience? It's a much quieter last 2 days. Well, let's sort of round off the conversation, I guess. Really, let's talk a little bit about 3S Money and a Payoneer. You're relatively sort of new, building in the region. Choose your adjectives. What are you kind of looking to achieve in this market over the next couple of years? Where do you see as the sort of the next thing for Payoneer as you scale up here? And indeed, if we come back here next year, what kind of size of operation or customer base would you hope to have?
Yeah, I think From our side, I think what we would like to do is, so we offer a whole suite of products. We would love to have 100% match of those products that are available in this region. So all of our teams are working hard to keep adding more and more of the product suite that we've got to make it more available to any business or any freelance or any individual in this region. So that's a thing that will continue to go on, I think, for eternity. In terms of team size, as I kind of touched on at the start, like this is a huge region for us in terms of growth. It's one of the most exciting regions for us. So personally, don't quote me here as a stock listed company, but would love to see like our team like double or so in time for next year. Like it's a huge region. I just can't understate that. And then for us, would love to be back here with more success cases, right? We've got a mission to help our small businesses, help them build sustainable businesses faster than they could without us. Like we really want to do that. So would love to have them be here with us and talking about us a lot more.
And are you seeing a kind of market or potential? Had 3 days of this. Are you seeing sort of potential for looking at sort of payments through other means that are taking more perhaps more risk in the transaction, perhaps sort of balance sheet lending based on predictable inventory? Is that sort of something you're thinking about with some of the smaller merchants or perhaps freelancers?
Yes, it's a good question. So for us, we have a number of areas. The short answer is yes. I can give you like a couple of examples. So we already do working capital today, and we base that off of the sales that you've got from the past, whether that's from your direct to consumer or your Amazon store or wherever. We can get a lot smarter at that. And I think there's also a way that we also want to link in, hey, if you're a B2B brand and you've suddenly picked up a big order, but you can't fulfill it because you don't have the capital, but you've already got some capital for us, can we make a quick decision and can we increase the financing that we've got? Can we do smarter things? The second half is when you look at our customers, most of them are looking to sell to, say, America and to Europe. There's still challenges with selling cross-border. Does the American customer like the shipping process? And so for us, it's interesting to try this one. I'll close off if someone doesn't want me to talk. One of the things is also things like payment methods and buy now, pay later. Like we don't want to be a consumer-facing brand today, but in terms of are there extra things that we can do that allow consumers that are sat in a rural town in America more comfortable to purchase from a business that's operating from Dubai? Like definitely, we have so much intelligence, so much data. Can we be a party that can trust a consumer and trust the supplier who's that party in the middle that we talk about in another use case? Like there's an opportunity. Is it something that we can solve short term? That's the open question.
These things do take time, and even in a booming market like this region, 3S Money, as you said, Evan, not long based here yourselves, although you already have customers. What does the next sort of year look like? What are customers telling you? How are you kind of deepening the relationship here? And if we come back in a year or two, where do you hope to be?
So, I think before open banking, we need open microphones. But yeah, definitely, we recently licensed by the FSA, and we want to have impact in the market, especially in the SME sector. We want to help them scale. We want to offer low-cost transactions for them, seamless, fast, and secure. This is our target. We're going to market in about a month. And we are very happy to join the competition. It's a healthy competition among fintechs. And I think from a product perspective, we want to create a one-stop shop for our clients where they're going to be able to manage their accounting through the different providers like Zoho, QuickBooks, etc., and select their banks instead of us finding banks for clients to park their money on the back end, right? We would like to connect directly with the banks of the client. So this is where we want to end up in a year or two.
Yoav, I think you said it's your first time here in Dubai. You're looking at sort of partnerships at the level of the bank, and you're looking at Hong Kong, you're looking at Sweden, Norway. Do you have is there a sort of perspective on sort of potentially looking more at the Gulf, looking at the UAE, and how you might help an emerging kind of Israel UAE trade and business corridor at the level of the CBDC or payment innovation?
Yeah, the CBDC project is really pretty much kind of internally oriented, although we do have these international collaboration mainly to learn from each other. But I can definitely say the Bank of Israel has done a lot of work to actually enable freer trade between the countries, financial trading, etc. And I think there's been a lot going on. So definitely, I mean, the opening up of the relationships, I think, has done great to both sides in every aspects of the economies, not just the financials. And whatever we can do to continue to help things flow more smoothly, I think institutions will definitely be doing.
That's a good note to end on, and more collaboration and an excitingly fast-growing region. This is your last chance. If you have a question, we can take. We've got a couple of seconds. We can take a question from the audience. Please just say your name and where you're from.
My name is Youssef, and I'm from Iran, PPG company. I just wanted to ask that, is there any practical blueprint in order to implement the CBDC or open banking? I know it differs based on the culture or atmosphere of the country, but is there any vivid process to implement it?
I think you might have to attend Yoav's speech tomorrow for that, but maybe he can give you a bit of a taste.
So our project is currently an exploration, more at a research phase. We do have some kind of a POC that we will build, but it's pretty much for research. We did publish a draft model so that the public to relate to something that we're doing. But many countries are in this, I wouldn't call it a race, many countries are in this journey already, and we're definitely looking at other countries to see also how they're progressing. And I think at the end of the day, there will be no one size fits all. Every country will have its own model, but it is important that the models can talk to each other so that we don't end up back in silos as we were in the old age of the financial and payment sector.
We'll have you back again, Yoav. You close off every sentence really well for me. I couldn't have put it better. I mean, I think, especially in this age, we do need to talk more between regions and between markets. I think we've got one quick question, just very quickly, then we must close, but go ahead. Where are you from as well, and company name?
So I'm Kate from Flypay company. So we are fintech. Thanks a lot for amazing panel, and you speak a lot about opportunities in the region. But what's your main challenge in that region, in particular? No, any challenge? Oh, sorry.
Okay, so yes, it's a good question. What is the main challenge? I would say that obviously there's a lot of competition, right? And you need to stand out from the competition. But we are here not to cover, let's say, the large corporates. We're here to cover the small and medium size. And there is a lack of data there. There is a lack of, let's say, examples of practice. And this is so far the biggest challenge for us. How do you do your KYC for the smaller companies that they don't even have banking statements, right? Because they are unbanked. So far, this is the main challenge that we're facing, and we're here to fix it.
Yeah, I'll follow that with a quick one, which is for us, we find the expectations of our customers in terms of payment services still they should be higher. They shouldn't tolerate that because they're a small business, they shouldn't get access to the same tools and functionalities and the same outcomes that larger businesses have.